Focus on Ports, brought to you by Transnet National Ports Authority.
Africa's infrastructure story is a horror for some, for others an adventurous opportunity. East Africa, particularly Kenya, is a positive example of accelerated growth in the port infrastructure space. Let's take a look. For decades, the port of Mombasa has been the major port on the African East Coast. Aside from Kenya, countries including Tanzania, Uganda and Sudan heavily rely on it, which has led to detrimental congestion problems. In fact, the World Bank recently warned that if government doesn't solve this predicament, Kenyans may soon be the only ones making use of the port. To accommodate the rapidly increasing market demand, the port of Lamu was conceived in the 1970s. With the recent oil discoveries in Kenya and Sudan, the project is finally gaining traction. Earlier this week in Nairobi, CNBC Africa's Loise Wachira chatted to Gilbert Langat, CEO of the Shippers Council of East Africa, about Kenya's plans towards becoming an East African transshipment hub.
Thank you for joining us, Gilbert. Now, as the main intermediary between the port and the end users, what do you make of the current state of Kenya's port?
There is a substantial improvement compared to the end of last year. There's been a lot of focus on it. There's been a lot of interest by government and regional governments, those who benefit from the Northern Corridor. What we actually call the Northern Corridor the port, the Mombasa Port Corridor, because it serves the port of Mombasa. There's a substantive improvement. There's improvement in terms of the ship turnaround times. Currently, for this year, we've not had a situation of ship waiting. It's been nil. The terminal also has been averaging about 7,000 to 8,000 maximum in terms of containers that are being held in the port, which means that congestion would not be very easy to happen, because congestion starts to happen when it goes to the 10,000 and above. There's been an improved infrastructure. There's been increase in terms of the capacity. The paths have been improved. They are now working. They even improved the internal infrastructure in terms of movements of rail, road, and they are still doing some work on it. So there's been quite a bit of improvement. But I think the biggest of all is the interest that government has taken.
Development of Lamu Port, which encompasses 3 countries, Kenya, South Sudan and Ethiopia, commonly known as the LAPSET project, is the biggest of its kind in East Africa. Once it's complete, how is it going to change the trade dynamics of these countries?
Accessibility to the international market will be very easy for Ethiopia, because currently they are using Djibouti, so Djibouti is quite a distance. South Sudan is a new and an emerging market. When we implement Lamu Port, when they pass their cargo through the port, so they'll be passing their oil, they'll be passing their imports and exports through the Lamu Port. The distance is small. 2, where the inland transportation is actually being done, it's a new thing, so you can be able to do the modern infrastructure. I think the only problem we have is the fact that we don't have sufficient resources, and that's why we need to look at the global networks and say, here is a huge market. In Ethiopia, there's a huge market in South Sudan. There's also a huge market in Kenya, and attract international players to actually come and implement that part of that project.
Speaking of investment opportunities through public-private partnership, what are some of the prevalent ones within the East African ports arena?
What happens is, the opportunity that it provides is that if an investor comes, provide them with tax havens for a period of time to come and invest, because you give them land. That's what Singapore did. That's how Singapore was able to attract multinationals into their country. Give very few tax lines, but benefit later. Allow 5-6 years down the road when the infrastructure is ready and it is being used, that is when you start making money. I think the problem we have, usually we want to make money now, even from things that we have not even implemented. So it becomes very difficult. Allow people to come in, do that, because they will start marketing the same port on your behalf, because they don't want a facility they are putting money to be idle. So they will actually do that. 2, Lamu Port, by its existence, is very, very central if you look at the global shipping industry. We transship through Salalah, through Singapore, through Durban. Those are very distant. Access through the Gulf region is the best for Europe. So they would actually transship their cargo through Lamu very easily, as long as you deal with the issue of piracy in Somalia, and of course deal with the issues around Lamu and the insecurity around Lamu. I think that would really provide us with a solution.
I'm glad that you've mentioned Somalia, which is commonly synonymous with piracy. In your view, how do you think this country will affect the shipment dynamics in the region?
I think the issue of piracy, with stability coming back in Somalia, piracy has really gone down. We actually haven't had cases of piracy in the last 8 months. There have been 1 or 2 attempts, but we've not had successful. Because even if they did that, where would they go to? Kismayo is under Unisom, so they are not able to do that. And I think the stability in Somalia, we need to look at. For us, we look at it as an opportunity. It's an emerging market, not in terms of them providing opportunity for us to move cargo to Somalia, because they also have their own port. It is the perception of that chain that passes through the Gulf region that now it is safer. So more ships will actually want to pass through there.
A key concern when it comes to the LAPSET project and its completion is hinterland infrastructure, be it rail or road. Do you think enough is being done to make sure that such infrastructure is in place to streamline trade along these corridors?
The designs are there. I think I have seen those designs. The designs are there, the focus is there. But as I said, the only way we can do Lamu is through PPPs. The government cannot be able to manage. They don't have sufficient resources to do that. So what you need to do is for the government to now provide the enabling environment. So if roads are supposed to be built and you say it's being built to Juba, for example, we are targeting Juba as a major market. And remember, the bigger opportunity is not even South Sudan. It's Central Africa, and you can move that to Douala. So you can connect by road and rail between Lamu Port and Douala. That is a big opportunity that we are looking at. That instead of transshipping by sea, because to go to Douala, you have either to go through South Africa, down, or you go up through the Red Sea. Now, you will cut down that distance for shipping lines can come and leave the cargo that is going to North Africa. You leave it in Lamu, and it is transshipped by use of rail. So the opportunities are huge.
Lamu Port is renowned for the cultural heritage it's upheld over the years, dating back to the 1800s. With a new development, what are the socio-economic implications?
It's a fact. When you bring in a port into a place that was more or less secluded, it still retains its natural heritage. But where the port is being built is actually on the land side. It's not on the island side. And the island is where the heritage is really protected. I think those things can be done if we look at a whole something. Let's not look at Lamu Port as being a standalone. I think we need to look at Lamu Port as an infrastructure project that also should feed into ensuring that the other heritage areas are actually protected. Because now people will be more empowered, but government and other institutions should really look at how do we ensure that we empower the people. Because I have been to Lamu many times, and I think the people around there, if you go there and tell them anything, they will really not understand. We need to start educating the people that this port is important, but it's also your cultural environment must be protected.
And finally, Gilbert, on completion of the Lamu Port project and also improvement of other ports across the region, what impact is this expected to have?
Everybody is focusing in investing in this country. The emerging markets that we are getting from the oil, the gas discoveries in this region, there's a lot of minerals in this region. Who doesn't want to invest here? So there'll be a lot of foreign direct investments. There'll be movement of, you have to move huge equipment to these countries to come and for exploration and all this. There's movement of equipment, very heavy, what we call project logistics. A lot of our project logistics that we were seeing were the UN, food and WHO, those things that they were bringing to go to Sudan, and these countries had issues. Now those issues are not there. That is moving to project logistics that now coming to generate more cargo coming out. I think what we are seeing is that there'll be more exports. Now we are heavily reliant on imports. We want to now see exports growing to a level that we could have almost have a balance, or even a tilt towards exports rather than imports.
A major deterrence for investors wanting to do business on the continent is piracy. According to a recent study by the World Bank, the United Nations and Interpol, pirates amassed $413 million since 2005. PAMESA's Secretary General, Franklin Mzirai, updates us on the progress towards combating piracy on the East African seas.
There's quite a lot of difference. Piracy was centered around the Somali waters. With the support of various international organizations, the European Union, the European nations, and United States, we were able to contain piracy in that region. Apparently, I can't confirm this, they have moved to West Africa, and our waters are now more and more safe. But it had a quite a negative impact, first on the cost of trading, because then vessels didn't want to sail to our region through the Suez Canal. They would have probably to pass through the Cape on the Atlantic side. That is one. But then our region enjoyed a lot of cruise tourism. These figures dropped from like 100 calls a year to as low as 1 or 2. So it had an impact, and the ships started moving, but now they're coming back, and well, we are on a safe ocean now.
We're heading into the third year of Transnet's 7-year, 300 billion rand capital expenditure program. Aside from his responsibilities as chairman of PAMESA, Tao Morwe is also the chief executive of Transnet National Ports Authority. He updates us on the progress.
I think we are in our second year of the marketing demand strategy. I'm sure you recently saw or heard about the Transnet results. I think they were good. If you look at year-on-year performance, we are steaming, going full steam ahead in terms of the implementation. We're looking at more capital investment. I mean, remember the first year we said 300 billion. We are now talking about 307 billion. As I speak, the group chief executive, the group financial officer oversees raising some funds through bonds and so forth. We are now busy with the budget, moving into the third year again of a 7-year period. So it is going well.